Global community must resolve to act with more determination and vigor against radicalization and extremist ideologies which encourage terrorism. The president spoke at a memorial service in honor of Kenyan soldiers who were killed by Al-Shabaab in Somalia recently. President Buhari said the peace-loving nation of the world must come together and deal with the threat posed to the security by terrorism with greater zeal and cohesion. He said Nigeria is willing to work with Kenya and other African countries with the global community at large with a view to defeating terrorism. The president applauded the bravery of Nigerians and Kenyan soldiers and others around the world who have remained faithful and committed to the cause of ensuring a secure and peaceful world in spite of the daunting challenges. President Buhari paid special tribute to the Kenyan soldiers who lost their lives in the terrorist attack on their base in Somalia. President Buhari, who is on a 3-day visit to Kenya, attended the memorial service in company of his host, President Uhuru Kenyatta and President Hassan Mahmoud of Somalia. Now, the 28th Ordinary Session of the African Union Executive Council has opened with a call on member states to be in sync with the body's Agenda 2063, especially in areas that relate to giving greater visibility and attention to the rights of women. Our correspondent at the AU, Ahmed Mbali, reports that the chairperson of the African Union Commission, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, said this has become imperative as the union works towards bringing prosperity to its people. She said the agenda is for all and every African citizens and that all initiatives that could accelerate the attainment of these goals need to be strengthened.
Their commitment to creating a better life for all their children, their communities, should inspire us all.
4 years, a type that Kogi State has never experienced before. By giving him your total, committed, and undiluted cooperation.
The governor shortly after carried out a drive-through parade of the Guard of Honor. Governor Yaya Bello becomes the 4th governor of Kogi State. Ifeanyi Okafor, NTA News.
The Senate has passed for second reading the 2016 appropriation bill and targeted its final passage February 25, 2016 for assent by the executives. Also Wednesday,
2.6% of the total vehicles driven on the roads in this country drive without even paying their licensing fee.
The school feeding. Mr. President, that program needs special planning before it kickstarts.
Therefore, I urge the 8th Senate to carry out its oversight functions more seriously so that 2016 budget is properly implemented.
If we do proper assessment and technical evaluation of the cost of production of crude oil, I am very confident that government will save up to $15 per barrel.
We have to take a decision both on the immediate, short, and long term before we rush and just every day decide based on the daily events to look at the benchmarks.
At a media briefing, Chairman Senate Committee on Appropriation, Senator Muhammad Nanjuma Goje, reiterated their commitment to pass the budget by February 25th.
The idea is to have a quick passage. We want to fast-track the whole process to ensure that at least there will be clear 10 months for implementation of the budget.
For the presidency, it was a commendable job on the part of the legislature.
They did consider this budget as budget of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that has the benefit of all Nigerians without any attention to political parties. I want to commend them.
And on a sad note, senators remembered the paramount ruler of Tivlan, the late Alfred Akau Tekula, who died recently. This was in a motion sponsored by Senator Barnabas Gemade from Benue State. From the National Assembly, Abdullahi Garba Burnokudu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has also received notification from President Muhammadu Buhari to strengthen the anti-corruption fight with a bill for the amendment of money laundering law in Nigeria. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nko has more on this and other proceedings at Wednesday's plenary.
Honorable colleagues, communication from the President.
The House commenced sitting with Speaker Yakubu Dogara reading the letter from President Buhari to repeal the Money Laundering Act 2011 as amended.
A nation together. Our collective nationhood must translate into something substantive that our children can remember.
And that also will help to ginger, especially the military.
The importance of tourism in our economy. I'm talking of the economic aspect of it.
To appreciate the effort of those of our leaders who always tread pacifist paths.
A total of 20 bills were passed at first reading. These include the bill on the National Assembly Budget and Research Center. This bill was considered by the 7th Assembly but could not receive presidential assent. Right now it has been reintroduced in the 8th Assembly for reconsideration. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nko, NTA News.
Now, the Supreme Court has upheld the election of Nyesom Wike as the governor of Rivers State, setting aside the judgment of both the Governorship Election Petition Tribunal and the Court of Appeal, which had earlier overturned his election. Judiciary correspondent Femi Okeowo reports.
This kind of long sitting is not a very common phenomenon in any court in the land. The 7 justices of the Supreme Court who determined this matter started sitting from 8:30 in the morning. And now, of course, you can see it's dark. But then they had to come up with a decision in this very critical election matter. In a unanimous decision, the panel of 7 justices led by the Chief Justice of Nigeria upturned the decision of the Governorship Election Petition Tribunal delivered in Abuja on the 24th of October 2015. And the judgment of the Court of Appeal, delivered also in Abuja on the 16th of December. The 2 courts had annulled the election of Governor Nyesom Wike and had ordered a rerun. But the Supreme Court differed in its verdict.
The Supreme Court remains the bulwark of Nigeria's democracy because it's the anchor of democracy is the rule of law.
We are happy that today the Supreme Court has taken the troubles to correct all that.
This is the last court. They must give their judgment. They can't give to both sides. One side they will give. So I'm trained to know that as a lawyer to accept it.
Now this is the end of the road.
It's the end of the road.
3 other state elections were also decided. The election of Ebonyi State Governor Dave Umahi was affirmed.
What happened this morning is victory for rule of law, is victory for the truth, and is victory for justice.
The Supreme Court also affirmed the election of Governor Ibikunle Amosu as the governor of Ogun State and Governor Dankombo of Gombe State, dismissing the appeals against their election. In Abuja, Femi Okeowo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Senate Committee on Judiciary has further made commitments to work with other arms of government to have a vibrant judiciary that will promote speedy administration of justice in order to decongest the prisons in Nigeria. The chairman of the committee, Senator David Umar, made the commitment when the committee embarked on an oversight visit to various courts within the Federal Capital Territory. Ali Tukuru reports.
The oversight visit is to assess the performance of the judiciary in respect to 2015 budget and to also fashion out strategies on how to reposition the judiciary in order to serve citizens optimally. Despite
the Borno State, Gumsu Bukara completes the report.
Minister of Health Professor Isaac Adewale said the visit was at the instance of the President to access the healthcare needs and facilities with a view to upgrading them. In line with the health agenda, the minister disclosed that the federal government intends to provide primary health care facility at each ward level, as well as a general hospital in each of the local governments across the country to cater for the health needs of Nigerians. The minister also announced that the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital will be upgraded to a world-class status and commended management of the institution for the progress made so far. He added that as part of the ministry's intervention, the federal government will in the next 3 months attend to the nutritional needs of 2,000 malnourished children in the Northeast and hope that the state government will partner with the central government to attain the overall objectives. As part of his visit, the minister interacted with IDPs at Dalori camp, where he administered the oral polio vaccine on children and donated drugs and an ambulance to the camp for improved healthcare delivery to the IDPs. He also visited the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital, 7th Division Hospital, Maimalaru Cantonment, and the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, where he announced that the federal government will look into ways of treating psychiatric patients free of charge.
I've been impressed with what I saw. Both here at the MRS, the doctor on ground is doing an excellent job. I'm also impressed with the facilities at the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital, which to me is one of the best in this country.
The minister later visited Governor Kashin Shettima at Government House. In Maiduguri, Yagum Subukar, NTA News.
Now, the federal government says it will deploy enough resources to support programs aimed at countering terrorism, corruption and lifting Nigerians out of poverty. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed stated this at a workshop on reporting and managing conflicts sensitively in Abuja. Anthony Forsing reports.
The workshop, under the auspices of Nigeria Stability and Reconciliation Program, is in collaboration with the Office of the National Security Advisor. It is coming at a time Nigeria is working towards containing its present challenges. Minister of Information and Culture Lai Mohammed says to achieve these goals, every citizen has a role to play.
Our country is facing numerous challenges at this time, but the good news is that Nigerians across faiths, tribes, age groups, and income levels have made a choice to break from the past and embrace a future free from insecurity, corruption, and poverty.
Lai Mohammed said the federal government is set to mobilize all elements within its national power to protect every citizen.
We are not alone on this path. Across the globe, Nigeria, under the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari, continues to enjoy the goodwill and support of big nations and organizations, all of which want to see us free from the scourge of terrorism and corruption.
Speakers at the forum commended the organizers, saying the move to build the capacity of journalists in reporting issues around conflict and terrorism is apt and that the participants must make good use of the opportunity. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
As we reported earlier, the President Muhammadu Buhari is in Nairobi ahead of Kenya-Nigeria Business Summit and bilateral meeting with Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
President Muhammadu Buhari's first point of call in Kenya was Eldoret, home of the country's Deputy President William Ruto, about 260 kilometers away from Nairobi. On a mission to show solidarity over the killing of Kenyan Defense Forces by Al-Shabaab in Somalia, the president was given a rousing reception at Eldoret International Airport by the people of Kenya, led by President Uhuru Kenyatta. President Buhari, who inspected a ceremonial guard of honor mounted by a detachment of the Kenyan Defense Forces, was also treated to the rich culture of the East Africans. President Buhari and his host then proceeded to the Arab Moi barracks, where they joined President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud of Somalia at an interdenominational prayers in honor of this.
Like us, they have had to face their unreasoning cruelty. Like us, Nigeria has had to comfort the victims of terror and the families of soldiers who paid the ultimate price. I want to reassure President Buhari that
usually inappropriate for the weather. They carry bags or packages. They tighten their hands or keep them in their pockets. They are unaware of their surroundings, always alone and nervous. They'll be found driving cars, moving very fast or extremely slow. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria, unite against terrorism. If you see something, say something.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Rise above. Sunrise Hills is unlike anything you've ever seen before. A new way of life is dawning in the heart of Nigeria.
Most people avoid the tough jobs. We're different. We're not here to complain that things are broken. We're here to fix them. You need someone that'll take the tough decisions and stand by their word. To do that, you need the best of the best. Physically, mentally. So it doesn't matter if it's...
Imagine there was a mobile network that could enhance your potential and take you further. Introducing Glow Campus Data Booster, a unique data package that gives you 8 times the value of your data you buy every time you set foot on campus. 8 times more data means 8 times more information, 8 times more fun, 8 times more knowledge at no extra cost. Simply dial *777# to access the Campus Data Booster plan. 8 times your data, 8 times your potential. Welcome to the next generation network, Glow Unlimited.
National Teachers Institute, we're a great teacher trainer.
The National Teachers Institute hereby informs all fresh and continuing students that the 2016 first semester tutorials will commence in all its centers nationwide on Saturday, 30th January 2016. All course facilitators, center managers, and students are to resume normal activities in their various centers across the nation. Students are advised to register online at www.ntionline.net through the students' portal. All payments should be made through Keystone Bank, Echo Bank, Zenith Bank, and United Bank for Africa. Announcer, Registrar, NTA.
Institute, improving teachers' quality to make Nigeria great.
Why are you filming, Mommy?
To help people stop getting sick. People think it's the ever-changing weather during Harmattan that makes them sick. Actually, it's the germs. Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs, including flu.
Dettol, endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association.
Service of the NTA. Wife of the President, Mrs. Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, has expressed confidence in government's effort towards the settlement of benefits of gallant officers who lost their lives during the ongoing operation in the Northeast. Mrs. Buhari stated this when she visited the wounded soldiers who are the victims of insurgency and currently receiving medical attention at the Nigerian Army Reference Hospital, Kaduna. State House correspondent Ali Kabir reports.
The wife of the president was received by the national president of the Nigerian Army Officers' Wives Association, NAOA, Kalthum Tukuru Buratai, and was conducted around the hospital by the plastic surgeon of the hospital, Lieutenant Colonel Aboh.
Guard mounted by patient 44 Reference Hospital, Nigerian Army.
This is Sergeant Hamisu Awal. He is one of the victims of bomb blast in Maiduguri, welcoming the wife of the president to the wounded soldiers' ward, an indication that himself and other wounded are responding to treatment. The wife of the president also visited accident and emergency ward Officers Ward 1, as well as maternity and the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology. Mrs. Buhari commended the effort of the Nigerian military in their effort for the protection of the nation's territorial boundary. While sympathizing with the victims, she urged all Nigerians to pray for their quick recovery.
I would also like to seize this opportunity to urge every one of you here to continue praying for the soldiers that lost their lives during the operations in Maiduguri. May God bless their families left behind. We thank you very much for being there for almost all of them. And also, I would like to seize the opportunity to pray for the serving officers for their safe return to their various families.
We thank you for the motherly love you have for us, for having time to come and see our wounded soldiers, our heroes, our gallant soldiers here.
Speaking off camera, some of the victims who sustained various degrees of injuries and who are in a stable condition expressed delight with the visit. They also expressed appreciation to the government and the staff of the hospital for the attention given to them. Although the hospital facilities are stretched due to the ongoing operation in the northeast, the hospital management reaffirmed their determination to sustain the tempo in taking care of the patient to resume the normal life. In Kaduna, Aliu Kabir, NTA News.
The leadership tussle within the People's Democratic Party, PDP, took another dimension as both the faction of the national acting chairman, Uche Secondus, and that of a former political advisor to the former president, Ahmed Gulak, continue to lay claim to the national chairmanship of the party. At a press briefing at the PDP National Secretariat in Abuja, Ahmed Gulak claims he has a court judgment in his favor. Salihu Abdullahi has the report.
Tussle over leadership has reigned in the party's history since the close of presidential elections. Ahmed Gulak arrived at the secretariat in company of his supporters today. He is assuming office.
The NWC members are fully aware that the stay of execution came up today. They are equally aware that after the stay was struck out, the incumbent thing on any reasonable person, especially me, that went to court, is to assume duty as national chairman. That position has been vacant since 29th day of December 2015.
He called on party faithfuls to join hands with him to pick the pieces and build PDP to enable it effectively perform its opposition role. Meanwhile, the national legal advisor of the party in a separate briefing admitted that both the application for stay of execution of the appeal court after the FCT High Court ordered the party to appoint a national chairman from the Northeast following the resignation of Adamu Muazu are still pending. In Abuja, Salihu Abdullahi, NTA News.
Politicians have been enjoined to shun selfishness and parochialism in service. This is part of a resolution reached at the just concluded annual political summit in Abuja. Chinedu Obike has details.
Media after the three-day gathering. Chinedu Obike, NTA News.
To ensure judicious utilization of its budgets, the Federal Ministry of Power, Works and Housing has commenced the appraisal of some contracts across the country. The minister stated this while on a nationwide inspection of projects in Benue and Nasarawa states. Works correspondent Ismail Musa has details.
The inspection exercise is to assess the true quality and state of projects under the ministry with a view to fast-track their development. This Site and Services Scheme project, Section 1 and 2 located along the Makudi-Aledi Road in Benue State, is aimed at providing social services to 150 plots, but was abandoned for decades due to dispute over the land allocated by the Benue State government. While inspecting the Apir 330 kVA transmission station, the need to further expand the project completed last year was highlighted.
That they need additional transformer capacity to add to it. Again, we are going to assess whether we can accommodate that in 2016 or in 2017. So it's still a fact-finding assessment. Some of the things we've heard, we've read, we've been told in the ministry, we are coming out now to verify.
Before leaving the states, Babatunde Fashola had an interactive sessions with the governor of Benue and Nasarawa states.
We have quite a number of roads that are federal government roads in the state of dilapidation.
Nasarawa state is the only state capital among the 36 states that is left to fend with 33 kV line.
The minister had earlier inspected the ongoing Abuja-Lokoja road contract awarded about 12 years ago. From Lafia in Nasarawa state, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the inner southern expressway in the Federal Capital Territory will be open to the public on Friday to drastically reduce the traffic bottlenecks usually experienced during peak periods. Named Goodluck Jonathan Expressway, the new roads is at the back of the National Christian Center in the Central District. Business District Abuja. The contractor handling the project has been directed to clear all the concrete barriers to enable motorists to use the road, especially for people moving to the northern part of the city. Killings by officers and men of the Nigerian police, the Western Part Authority Police Command has organized a training program on emotional work impact and effective coping strategies for the staff of the command. Aboh Obiohana tells us more.
The Commissioner of Police, Western Port Authority, Hilda Ibufuru Harrison, noted that the training is intended to address the myriad of psychological and emotional issues affecting not only the health and behavior of police officers, but the image and performance of the force in regards to public perception and cooperation.
The fact that police officers must work with the persons in the community to ensure their effectiveness and efficiency in the performance of their duties. And so suddenly, when we started seeing these extrajudicial killings coming up in Lagos and Enugu, he realized it was time to look into the emotional beings of policemen.
Resource person also comments on the situation.
We expect police people as supermen. They are human beings. They go through their own emotions. So they have to live up to that expectation by dealing and by knowing how to deal with their emotions.
It will be recalled that the Inspector General of Police, Solomon Arese, had ordered annual psychological tests and mental evaluation of men of the Nigerian police as a result of the occurring incidents of extrajudicial killing across the country. In Lagos, Aboh Obiohana, NTA News.
Now, former President Goodluck Jonathan addressed the Swiss Press Club in Geneva, Switzerland, where he spoke on the need for better security and education for Africa, with emphasis on Nigeria.
Low education levels are linked to poverty, and poverty is one of crime, whether it is terrorism, militancy, or felonies. On the long run, is to use education and, of course, economic development as tools to bring security.
Some of the strategies his administration embarked upon to improve education and security in Nigeria.
To fight insecurity, the immediate terms using, of course, you have to use your security forces. I built 12 conventional universities in and across the country. And before I left, all the states had federal universities.
There are calls for intensified collaborations in assisting government to tackle the menace of vandalism of public infrastructure. Talatu Ezerike reports that this was the standpoint of discussants on NTA's Current Affairs program, Tuesday Live.
Going by statistics, the federal government yearly loses billions of naira due to vandalism of oil and gas pipelines, power or communication cables. These experts say are major setbacks on the nation's socio-economic development, especially with the recent bombing of several oil and gas supply pipelines by state militants in the Niger Delta region, a development President Muhammadu Buhari says must stop.
But where did Nigeria get it wrong?
We are prosecuting well over 2,000 in the courts. We have secured about 192 convictions so far. ranging between 1 to as much as 30 years imprisonment.
Analysts strongly agree that right steps are being taken in addressing the issue of vandalism. Talat Ezerike, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Save Niger Delta group has condemned in strong terms the recent pipeline vandalism in the Niger Delta, while fervently appealing to the federal government not to discontinue the university project situated at Okerinkoko in Delta State for progress' sake. They were at a government house in Asaba to ask for mediation. Ife Chukudi Nonso reports.
The protesters were mainly students drawn from various universities across Niger Delta, as well as other stakeholders in the region. The Federal Maritime University, Okerinkoko, according to them, when fully operational, will attract over 30,000 jobs, enhance development of the area, stem the tide of youth restiveness and militancy across the region.
We believe that education is a panacea that will curb the excesses of militants in our region. Yeah. So we believe that we do not believe in militancy.
We want to be a moral citizen that will build the nation Nigeria.
The coordinator of Save Niger Delta Group, Jacob Aboh, put a seal to the request with a passionate appeal to President Muhammadu Buhari to ensure the completion of the project, as it will accelerate the fulfillment of one of the cardinal campaign promises of wealth and employment generation of his administration.
The level of work done at the permanent site is almost 75%.
The governor, represented by the secretary to the Delta State government, Festus Oviagas, assured the group that their demands will be channeled to the appropriate authorities.
I want to reassure you that your letter or your protest will be given to the governor. And the governor is a man who does not make a promise he cannot keep.
Save Niger Delta Group is a non-governmental and non-profit organization founded this year with the main objective of promoting peace and harmony among Niger Deltans and other Nigerians. Ifechukwu Denwonsu, NTA News.
Up ahead, business news and experts review the Monetary Policies Committee stance on the Naira. Stay with us.
My people, now how person fit take service suicide bomber self? Suicide bomber they always knack heavy cloth, or sometimes anyhow loose cloth when not delicate with the weather at all. They always carry big bag or many load like who they travel. They always tight hand like blow, or even put their hand inside pocket like who called the mama. Sometimes suicide bomber like to tanda alone, they fear. And they know they send waiting they happen around them all. Sometimes then they drive motor fast, fiam. And sometimes now so they go they drive slow, they terrage. If you shadow any kind load where they drop, or messing with kurukere waka when not pure, I beg, me will report and give police or other security agent one time. The security of we country, now everybody handy deal. Nigeria, may we unite against terrorism. If you now see something, may we now say something. Now, Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, bring on this message you.
No one is just one person. Me, I'm a product of the world. I roam in Dubai, Canada, America.
All registered companies must obtain a tax identification number immediately from the nearest FIRS office. You can also collect and return tax registration forms from the Federal Inland Revenue Service Engagement and Enlightenment Tax Teams, FEET, on compliance checks exercise in your area. A company which is yet to commence business after at least 6 months of incorporation must pay a pre-operational levy of 20,000 naira in the first year and 25,000 naira for subsequent years to obtain its tax clearance certificate TCC. Note that filing and payment of VAT and withholding tax returns must be done on or before the 21st day of every month. Register for VAT. File all tax returns as and at when due. Be a responsible corporate citizen of Nigeria. It pays to pay your tax. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
When I find you, I'm all in you, baby. Yes, forever,
however, the weather, to borrow some of your time.
We are back with more names and personalized messages on our bottles and cans. So now you can share a Coke and a feeling with family and friends.
Experience this uplifting lifestyle with breathtaking views of the city. Rise above. Sunrise Hills is unlike anything you've ever seen before. A new way of life is dawning in the heart of Nigeria.
The new Big Crystal Original, now with more remarkably visible ink, a tinted support and a ballpoint that glides easily. Big Crystal Original, it makes the grade.
Welcome back. You're still watching News Extra on the NTA. Analysts react to the resolution of the Monetary Policy Committee, MPC. Abdullahi Mohammed has details on our business news.
Good evening. This is Business News and thanks for joining us. Economic analysts urged the Central Bank of Nigeria to consider releasing the news around its exchange rate policy. This follows the Monetary Policy Committee's resolve to maintain status quo on its existing policies after its two-day meeting in Abuja. Observers of the economy commended the steps taken so far by the Monetary Policy Committee. Although this is expected to improve liquidity in the system, analysts say the Central Bank of Nigeria must take a step further for the banks to lend to the real sector.
So we should go beyond just appealing to them, because this is not an issue of whether they are patriotic or they are not patriotic. It's a business issue. We have to evaluate the constraints, we have to evaluate the obstacles, we have to evaluate the risks, and see how we can bring down the risk of lending to some of these sectors.
The analysts also insist that keeping the controls on the exchange rate may continue to spur uncertainties in the economy, urging the Central Bank of Nigeria to reconsider its stance.
If you have a more liberal foreign exchange market regime, there will be more inflows that may possibly moderate
items that we can produce locally, and we have the capacity to be able to do that right now. Maybe probably they are already on the provision list. Then there is no reason why they should allow them to participate in the official window for the exchange rate.
On the retention of CBN's monetary policy rate at 11%. They say it will encourage all-inclusive growth and development and will ensure ease in government borrowing.
What the retention of the monetary policy rate at 11% does is also to make it cheaper for government to borrow domestically.
This move, the MPC says, is to check the weakening global economic prospects as well as increase risk in the domestic economic environment. Amina Nujaim, NTA News.
With the pulling out of one of the major shareholders in the Brass liquefied natural gas projects, the ConocoPhillips, work will only be ongoing in one of the trains with processing capacity of about 5 million metric tons yearly instead of 2 trains earlier proposed. This was part of a resolution reached at the end of the 11th annual general meeting of the Board of Directors and Shareholders held in Abuja, Nigeria. Mia Ogidi reports.
With the recent volatility in the oil and gas market, America's ConocoPhillips is divesting. Hence, the board of directors and the shareholders, whose earlier plan was to construct 2 trains, have reviewed the project downwards to construct a
Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC. Paulo, he says the agency 2015 generated a total of 7.608 billion naira. This was at an investigative hearing of a House had a committee on non-oil revenue and remittance. National Assembly correspondent Ifeanyi Zumba reports on this and other committees.
The DG NAFDAC announced that their source of revenue is from organizations and companies making payment for registration fees, administration charges, user fee, and payment for other services.
25% came to 488.906 million, and we have paid so far 212.612 million naira.
The Taxation and Communication Technology subsector of the economy in his tenure. Tunde Saiki reports.
Professor Umar Dambata said the 8-point agenda is a fallout of extensive consultation with relevant stakeholders in line with the vision of President Muhammadu Buhari on promoting innovation, investment, competition and consumer empowerment in the information communication technology platforms. Said the 8-point agenda is based on availability of service, accessibility of service and affordability of service aimed at sustainable and inclusive development of the country. The Executive Vice Chairman identified, among others, facilitation of broadband penetration, improved quality of service, optimized usage and benefits of spectrum, and the promotion of information communication technology innovation and investment opportunities.
The Commission will always act responsibly, impartially, transparently, and independently in the discharge of our statutory functions and for the common good of all Nigerians.
In a later development, the Nigerian Communications Commission commenced a roadshow campaign against vandalism in the telecoms industry in Nigeria. The Executive Vice Chairman, represented by the Director of Public Affairs, Tony Ojobo, said telecom infrastructure have become vulnerable as some unknown persons vandalize installations, in addition to stealing generators, cables, optic fiber.
Is fond of that. For students like some of us, we don't have any other thing doing apart from coming to school to learn and to get knowledge for our future. We find it very bored.
However, in some departments visited, lectures have commenced in earnest, while other students make judicious use of the university's library to keep abreast with knowledge.
Workload has doubled. We have a lot of work. Timing is shorter and everything. So.
Meanwhile, the non-academic staff union, NASU, has also resumed work, while the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SANU, are still on a nationwide strike. With the period of time already lost in the academic year, new students who were admitted for the 2015-2016 session are expected to commence registration in April. From the University of Jos, Felicia Dalio, NTA News.
Meanwhile, education managers in Nigeria are constantly designing strategies to keep up with evolving global trends. One of such is a capacity building workshop on emerging trends in open and distance education. The two-day exercise, which took place in Zaria, was for staff of the National Teachers Institute, NTA. Musbao Danwahab has the details.
The capacity building workshop was a collaborative effort between the Public Administration Department of the Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, and the NTI. 500 staff, including deputy and assistant directors, zonal and state coordinators, senior officers and center desk officers from the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT were in attendance. NTI's Director General, Dr. Aminu Ladan Sharihu, described it as an opportunity to retrain staff.
It is a tradition of NTI to regularly conduct workshops for our workers. Most especially, we're in the change regime now. And of course, even before now, we've always been conscious about quality. The objective of this workshop is actually to enhance and improve the knowledge of our workers who are managing our centers in Nigeria, so that they can adequately be able to manage the centers, so that we can effectively be able to conduct our training programs in our centers across the country very effectively.
To enhance the capacity of the staff so they can deliver quality to the community of where they are serving.
In another development, staff
much on English language, so I feel that it's of no use, stressing themselves.
It's important for us to communicate with other people to enhance unity and social behavior both in our country and outside.
It is in recognition of this that Nigeria and France have renewed commitment for the teaching and learning of French language.
There is also always a problem of
insufficient number of teachers of French language, but now we have those new technologies which make it possible to teach French language with less teachers.
We are interested, we are keen, and we are motivated by the need to actualize our dream of making French language the second language of business in Nigeria.
The pilot phase of the French language clinic, which kicked off at the Federal Government Boys College, Aboh, is expected to provide conducive learning environment for teachers and students.
Many countries in Africa speak French, and we wish very strongly to go along that road with you into African integration.
So far, the French government has trained more than 40,000 French teachers at various levels of education in Nigeria, with the establishment of 3 French centers in Jos, Ibadan, and Enugu.
The French language clinic, which will be launched in the 104 unity colleges, is yet another commitment from the federal government to improve the listening, reading and writing of French language, especially among pupils and students. From the Federal Government Boys College, Aboh, Franca Uzoma Olwa, NTA News.
Coming ahead, protest over the death of a Nigerian in an Indian hospital. A Senate committee investigates the killing of Nigerians in South Africa. We'll bring you details in just a moment, so stay with us.
Are you aware that the death percentage attributed to Lassa fever cases is currently put at 43.2%, a figure considered very high? Lassa fever, an acute viral illness characterized by high fever, muscle aches, mouth ulcers and bleeding in the skin, is harbored by rats and spread to humans via the urine and droppings of rats. To prevent Lassa fever, avoid any exposure with rodents, rats, as well as food and
around you. Say something when you suspect something.
Remember, we all have a stake in building a crime-free Nigeria of our dream.
This message is from the Nigeria Police Force.
Would you like some water? It's cold, especially for you.
Which era are you living in? We have a fridge.
When everything else in your house is from the present, then why are your toilet cleaning methods from the past? Harpic, all-in-one for you. Compared to other toilet cleaners, Harpic removes top stains, kills all germs, and removes bad odors. For a shining, clean, and fresh toilet.
Wow.
You should also take the Harpic
all-in-one challenge.
So, how far now? Don't you do so? Na promo. You step on become millionaire. You never hear say NAFDAC don't bring wetin they call mobile authentication service. We go help us know whether medicine na fake or not before we pay. Now, come see. As I scratch this thing wey be like recharge card so, come send the pin to 38353 free of charge. I will call receive text message to confirm. Okay, original. So, just like that, we confirm whether medicine na fake or not instant. That way you sef don wise up. Make you help NAFDAC spread the story na the way that. Madam, come and take your money.
Now, national agent led to her death in Fortis Hospital, India, as they demand an autopsy from the hospital to know the real cause of her death from a leg injury. Adebola Brooksling Sunday has details.
Chineye Christiana Nwafo, a final year student of English and Literary Studies at the University of Abuja, who is supposed to be mobilized in the next batch of the National Youth Service Corps Scheme, NYSC. These are families and schoolmates of late Chineye Christiana Nwafo. Late Chineye went to India for medical solution to her health situation, but did not come back alive. Report has it that she returned to India after her operation for checkup, where she died, as family source claimed. Nigeria loses over $500 million annually to medical tourism.
We lost our sister, so we're demanding for the reports. And secondly, that the doctors whose negligent acts killed her
should be brought to book. If we had a good medical system, she wouldn't go to India.
You can't tell me that only a single report got burnt.
Acting India High Commissioner to Nigeria, Kaisar Alan, after receiving their letter of protest, assured them that their demands will be communicated to the Indian government and that the family will be contacted shortly with the hope that their demands will be granted.
This in India, so we will write to them to sort it out. I am speaking from the Indian government. I am representing India.
Adebola Brooksland Sunday, NTA News.
The House of Representatives Committee on Foreign Affairs has assured Nigerians that it will.
The Committee on Foreign Affairs solicited the cooperation of the Foreign Affairs Ministry in ensuring that the culprits are brought to justice, as well as bring the South African government to terms with the consequences of such ugly trend.
As Nigerians live in South Africa and live under the rules and the laws of their host country, they shall also be assured that they shall have a right not only to life, but to do business in that country.
Regretting that adequate measures have not been taken by the Nigerian government in abating extrajudicial killings of Nigerians in foreign countries, especially in South Africa, the committee urged the Foreign Affairs Ministry to provide adequate security to the eyewitnesses who are willing to testify.
While the House Committee on Foreign Affairs expresses deep concern over the senseless killings of some Nigerians in South Africa, it, however, demanded from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs a well-thought-out plan on what should be done to nip this ugly trend in the board. From the National Assembly, Kenneth Nani, NTA News.
Parting salutes to former lawman Chief Adeosi goes home. Details shortly.
Always, we have lived together as brothers and sisters since long time in River, without no mind that we have spoken different languages and celebration our cultural and diversity. No bombing, no cultism.
Now at some global news, let's join Chimdima Ndubisi on Global Tidbits.
Libya's peace agreement is likely to be changed following dissenting voices from the warring parties. The House of Representatives rejected the unity government proposed by the peace deal. The parties now have 10 days to produce a new smaller cabinet. In the Americas, Zika virus linked to babies being born with underdeveloped brains is widely spreading through the Caribbean, North and South America. Currently found in 21 countries in that axis, the World Health Organization says the virus is likely to spread across nearly all the Americas, raising concerns about the upcoming 2016 Rio Olympics. This is why the United States President Barack Obama is pushing for the speed up of research to develop vaccines and treatments. Elsewhere in Europe, the European Commission draft report on migrant crisis shows that Greece, as one of the gateway countries, has neglected its duty to control its borders by failing to register and fingerprint migrants that arrived in November. That's Global Tidbits. Chimdema Ndubisi, NTA News.
Manzi Marcus has the latest happenings in the world of sports. Let's join him now.
Nigeria's national women's basketball team, the Tigers, have been drawn in Group C alongside Belarus and South Korea in the women's basketball Rio 2016 Olympic qualifiers. The team failed to pick an automatic Olympic ticket at the last African women basketball.
Playing more aggressive on this time.
Joanna Konta is in the semi-finals after defeating Chinese qualifier Zhang Shuai 6-4, 6-1 in 1 hour 22 minutes. With Sports News Update, Amanzi Marcus. NTA News.
The Nigerian police force has announced the death of police icon and the 5th Indigenous Police Inspector General, Chief Sunday Adeosi. His death has been described as a great loss to the force and the nation at large. Bonaventure Ngodu has the report.
He became the youngest Commissioner of Police, and at 45 he became the youngest Inspector General of Police. That is Sunday Adeosi, the 5th Indigenous Inspector General of Police, who died at 79 at the National Hospital, Abuja. The late IGP began his career as a police officer in 1957 after early education in the then North Central state of Nigeria.
Sunday Adeosi
lived a very fulfilled and accomplished public service life. He was an operational icon when it comes to policing. He started the robust logistic development of the Nigerian police force with the introduction of the water cannon.
Beyond the introduction of water cannon, the late Sunday Adewusi introduced other innovations in the force.
He was entirely a composite police officer, colonial police.
We could expect to get decent advice from.
In Abuja, Bonaventure Wood, NTA News.
And that's how it's being on News Extra tonight. On behalf of myself and the crew, we say thank you for being great company and continue